Now that he's 77, Santana isn't just talking about his worst times. He is revealing the truth that developed his life and songs, as well as his soul. Come on, tell the whole story. His early life was full of drama and hard times for Carlos Santana. He was created in Mexico in 1947. Carlos learned to play music from his dad when he was very young. His dad played violin in mariachi bands. Carlos's family moved to Tijuana when he was 8 years old. This move had a big effect on his life. Carlos saw the cool rock band TJs play in a park in Tijuana. The blues and rock music became his favorites because of this. But things weren't always good in Tijuana. Something really bad happened to Carlos for 2 years. Sadly, an American man hurt him in ways that no child should ever be hurt. Carlos loved going with this man across the border, and he would buy him clothes and toys to keep him quiet. It ended when the man hit Carlos for looking out a window at a woman. Carlos felt bad for a long time after this terrible event. Carlos began playing the guitar in Tijuana strip clubs when he was only 15 years old. A kid would have a hard time there. As an example, he saw a police officer being rude to a worker. However, Carlos's time in these places also helped him make his own unique sound. Mix his Latin sounds with rock and blues. He worked as a cleaner at the TikTok drive-in in the early 1960s. Despite not making much, he saved every penny he could. He hoped to get visa papers and a new Stratocaster guitar. He discovered one day that his mom had taken $300 from his savings and used it to pay for his sister's cosmetic dentistry. In response to Carlos's question, she only returned $20. He had a terrible time and eventually left home. Just $20 in his pocket, he went back to Tijuana and played music in strip clubs to make money. It was hard for Carlos to live in San Francisco. In the Mission District, he shared a small, crowded apartment with other artists. And there was no bed, so he slept on the floor. He did a lot of work washing dishes and barely had enough money to buy food. He mostly ate rice and beans. There wasn't enough money for him to buy real guitar strings, so he played with broken ones or anything else he could find. Despite the difficulties, he kept working on his songs. Before he was well known, Carlos played music in San Francisco streets. He did shows for hours at places like Union Square and Fisherman's Wharf. Occasionally, he earned less than $5. Besides jazz and folk, he heard a lot of different types of music while he played. His ability to combine these sounds into his own way helped him stand out to people who were walking by. In 1966, when Santana formed his first band, the Santana Blues Band, things began to change. Everything just happened to fit together. He worked at the drive-in and met Tom Fraser, who put him in touch with piano player Greg Rowley. Among the players they brought in were David Brown on bass and Marcus Malone on drums. Michael Carabello offered the name Santana for the band because it sounded catchy. There was something about Santana's rise to fame that felt like fate. Their big break came at Woodstock thanks to a producer named Bill Graham who had faith in them. Graham helped plan the event and told the people in charge that Santana had to be a part of it if they wanted his help. That time, Santana wasn't well known. A lot of the 400,000 people at Woodstock didn't know who they were because their first record hadn't even come out yet. The band was just from San Francisco and had been playing in small bars in Tijuana and other places not long ago. Their time slot was 45 minutes on August 16, 1969, in the afternoon. It was even more shocking that they were chosen because it put them between big names like the Grateful Dead and Creedence Clearwater Revival. To make Santana's Woodstock performance even stranger, Carlos Santana was feeling crazy during the show. Those were his only 22 years. That they met Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead by chance. After taking a helicopter to get to the event, Santana thought that they wouldn't play until very late that night. Maybe 3 a.m. Garcia let Santana try something while they were waiting. It could have been peyote, mescaline, or another strong drug. Santana felt the effects very badly. He was already deep in a vivid trip when it was time to act earlier than planned. It scared him tremendously to see the neck of his guitar moving like a snake while he was performing. As a way to stay grounded, Santana closed his eyes and let his fingers find the right notes. He even prayed at one point, asking God to keep him from embarrassing himself in front of all those people. Everything changed for Santana at Woodstock. They became stars quickly because of how well they played. It was true what Bill Graham said about Carlos becoming famous after the event. On August 30th, 1969, just 2 weeks after Woodstock, Santana's first album came out. The timing was just right. Without warning, they went from being a small neighborhood band to a nationwide sensation. Graham helped the band use their fame to make more money, getting them to play at big events like the Gold Rush Festival and even on the October 1969 Ed Sullivan Show. These chances helped them become even more popular. The first record by Santana was a huge hit. The self-titled album was number 4 on the Billboard 200 Pop Album chart in November 1969, where it stayed for an amazing 108 weeks. Not even close to making it to number 5-6 was their first hit, Jingo. It was Evil Ways that really made them famous. It moved up the charts and stayed at the top for 13 weeks, hitting number 9. Bill Graham suggested that the band cover Willie Bobo's version of Evil Ways, which is how the song ended up on the record. Not only did the record make Carlos Santana famous, but it also let him keep a promise he made to his mother. He gave her a house and made sure it had everything she needed, like a brand new fridge, with his first royalty check. Santana would go on to become a rock legend because of this. Carlos Santana married Deborah King in 1973. She was the daughter of blues singer Saunders King. When his fame as a musician was at its height, they began to make a life together after meeting at a show at the Marin Civic Center. It turned into more than just a marriage over the years. They also worked together in business. Deborah was very helpful in managing Santana's business and money, especially in the 1990s, when Carlos said he might not have had anything left without her help. The two of them had 3 kids together: Stella, who sang and wrote songs, Salvador, who led a band, and Angelica, who wrote and produced movies. Their marriage lasted 34 years, and they worked well together in business as well. When they took over the Santana Band in 1994, Deborah was vice president and chief operating officer of Santana Management until 2007. In 1998, they also started the Milagro Foundation to help kids in need all over the world. His 1999 album Supernatural was a huge hit, going platinum 15 times and winning 9 Grammy Awards. Deborah played a big role in that success. They thought they had a great marriage, but it wasn't. Space Between the Stars, Deborah's autobiography published in 2005, said that Carlos had been cheating on her. This and other problems led to their divorce in 2007. Once the memoir came out, Carlos openly admitted that he had been cheating on his wife. He said he was sorry for hurting Deborah and their kids, and that he felt very bad about it. That was because he wasn't in the right frame of mind, and he promised to change into the man she wanted him to be. Carlos was having a hard time during this time because of a bigger problem in his spiritual life. He had been guided by a spiritual leader named Sri Chinmoy before, but he stopped following him in 1982 because they didn't agree on some personal issues. Carlos was heavily affected by the breakup. It made him feel the worst in his life, and he tried to kill himself 7 times. So much pain was going through him that he thought death might be better than the pain. He kept failing, though, every time he tried. He said he heard a strong but soft voice say, "I'm sitting next to you. Isn't that sufficient?" Seeing a picture of Jesus and lighting a candle, along with these times, helped him pull back from the edge. Slowly, he started to enjoy easy things like breathing and eating again. The hurt of the split also made him remember a terrible event from his childhood. A friend of his father sexually abused him when he was 10 years old. He finally had the strength to forgive his attacker because of his faith. He said that forgiving someone was freeing. Growing spiritually has been a roller coaster ride for him. His teacher gave him the name Devadip in 1973. It means the lamp, light, and eye of God. Carlos found peace when he became a Christian after leaving the guru's direction. By 2015, he was so devoted to his faith that he talked about leaving music to become a church leader. Besides that, he wanted to start a church on Maui, Hawaii. Even though he was 52 years old, Carlos Santana made an amazing comeback in 1999. He put out a record called Supernatural, which became one of the most popular albums ever. The album was bought 30 million times around the world. When Santana signed with Columbia Records in 1969, Clive Davis came to him with the idea that they could work together again. It had a lot of danger, simply because Santana hadn't had a top 10 hit since 1971. No one saw it coming, but it worked out. Santana got 9 Grammys in one night at the 2000 awards show, tying Michael Jackson for the most ever won in one night. 11 countries ranked the album as their #1 record, and the US chart held that position for 12 weeks. For the first time ever, a Hispanic singer won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Smooth was one of Supernatural's most well-known songs, but it almost didn't happen. A rough idea for the song, called Room 17, was about a fan meeting Santana in a hotel. Representative Pete Gombard believed that the record needed a big hit and pushed for the song to be included. Initially, Santana wasn't interested, and a message from Clive Davis to him personally was what did it. Robert Thomas wrote and sang the song. He was living a chill life in Manhattan at the time. Santana wanted Thomas, the band, and himself to play the song live in the studio. He said it made everyone feel great. The end result was a huge success. Smooth was the first song in the 2000s and the last song in the 1990s to stay at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 12 weeks. It was in the top 10 for 30 weeks and stayed on the chart for 58 weeks. Santana's life shows what level of success one can reach by working tough. He lived in San Francisco in the early 1960s and worked as a cleaner. Other than that, he played music for money on the streets. Now, we think he's worth about $120 million. His fame went through the roof after Supernatural, which made over $375 million. Real estate is something Santana has engaged in. He owns a $6 million house in Las Vegas and a $20.5 million house in Hawaii. He also knows how to run a business well. He opened a chain of Mexican restaurants called Maria Maria, with Roberto Santibanez, a cook. This 77-year-old musician, Santana, hasn't slowed down at all. He keeps playing in Las Vegas, at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, and the House of Blues. Since 2005, SiriusXM has put on a show called An Intimate Evening with Santana, Greatest Hits Live. It has been going strong for 13 years and will continue until 2025. He has new shows planned for early 2025 and plays high-energy shows several nights a week. Additionally, Santana and the Rolling Stones are the only acts to have had an album in the top 10 every decade since the 1960s. He gives some of the money from his shows to good causes, like the Milagro Foundation and the House of Blues Music Forward Foundation. This shows how much he cares about helping others. Because he needed surgery right away for a back problem in September 2024, Carlos Santana had to cancel a few big shows. He called off his shows in Albuquerque on September 4th at the Isleta Amphitheater in Phoenix on September 2nd. Recently, the 77-year-old musician had been playing while sitting down. He also canceled his residency shows at the House of Blues in Las Vegas in September and early October. Some of his shows had to be canceled, but he still played on August 27th, 28th, 30, and 31. The show at the Kia Forum in Inglewood was one of these important events. In honor of the album's 25th anniversary, Santana played 5 songs from it. These shows proved that Santana could still make amazing music even when he was sick. Santana got into a lot of trouble in 2023 when he talked about gender identity at a show in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Many people were upset by the 15-minute speech he gave without making any notes. He talked about how a baby's gender is chosen before it is born in his speech. This made people in the crowd feel bad. It went popular after someone posted a video of it online. One report said that Santana later apologized on Facebook for his hurtful comments and admitted that they had hurt people. He later took down the apology, though, and replaced it with a strange poem that said, "The energy of consciousness creates its own kind. Hatred creates. Feeling hateful. Feeling love. Causes. Feeling love." It made things even more controversial because it happened at a time when many anti-LGBTQ bills were being proposed in the US, some of which were aimed at transgender teens. Additionally, Santana publicly supported comic Dave Chappelle at the same Atlantic City show. He said, "I am like this with my brother Dave Chappelle," referring to their close connection. This caused more backlash because Chappelle had faced criticism for his Netflix special, The Closer, which had controversial comments about transgender people. Santana's support for Chappelle came at a time when many U.S. states were passing laws against LGBTQ rights, and this made the situation worse. Advocacy groups, including leaders from San Francisco Pride, criticized Santana's remarks. Many civil rights organizations warned that comments like these from famous people could make life even harder for transgender individuals. The backlash was especially strong because Santana is a well-known figure in the Bay Area and has a big influence in the music world. Despite all this, Santana's music continues to shine, and his band has become a family effort. His wife, Cindy Blackman Santana has been the band's drummer since 2015. At 64, she is an amazing musician and often steals the spotlight with her talent. At the Kia Forum show, she wowed the crowd with a stunning drum solo during the encore after Are You Ready? Carlos' son, Salvador, from his first marriage, is also part of the band. At 41, Salvador plays keyboards, percussion, and vocals, even adding rap to songs like Maria Maria. Their shows, part of the Oneness Tour, feature an 18-song set list with both old classics and new hits. Looking ahead, Carlos and his family are preparing for an extended residency at the House of Blues Las Vegas in 2025. The show, titled An Intimate Evening with Santana, Greatest Hits Live, will run from January to May and promises to showcase their incredible musical bond. Carlos Santana, at 77, has a deep and unique way of thinking about life and mortality. His ideas come from his spiritual journey, which has shaped him over the years. He once followed Sri Chinmoya's teachings and became a born-again Christian in 1992. His wife, Cindy Blackman, has also played a big role in how he sees life and staying healthy. Together, they focus on 4 important things: diet, devotion, dedication, and discipline. Santana believes that being strong and full of life isn't just about eating the right food. It's also about feeding your mind and spirit. He says, you can eat the best food and still be weak if you don't think correctly. His spiritual life is very strong, and he once had a mystical experience with the Virgin of Guadalupe. That moment changed him deeply, and now he often asks others, what is God saying to you right now? Santana's message to his fans is bigger than music. He wants people to wake up spiritually and feel powerful in their own lives. He often tells his audience to celebrate your own light and your divinity. He thinks it's important to bring hope and courage to the world, especially when people are struggling. Santana looks at the big picture and wants to find ways to bring peace, comfort, and togetherness to everyone. He started the Milagro Foundation in 1998 to help children around the world with education and health. He also stands up for social justice and fights for what's right. At a civil rights game for the Atlanta Braves, he spoke out saying, I am here to give a voice to the invisible. His actions show that he is not only a musician, but also someone who cares deeply about making the world a better place.